We're with Mitch Hull, USA Wrestling's National Teams Director, who just returned from a tremendous trip to Iran. Mitch, you've been to Iran before for wrestling, but was there something a little special about this one or different that made this competition really stand out in your mind?
Yeah, well, the difference between this one and the ones that passed is they were all, the two of them were individual tournaments with the Takti Cup. Of course, one was the World Championships, which was the ultimate back in 1998. But this is different because it was a team competition. All of these others were individual, that you kept a team score, but you were representing teams. So when the Iran team came out, it was an hour and a half of just Iranians for their fans. And when our team came out, they were supporting our team, not just an individual, but the team. So yeah, it had a different feel to it than the others.
Now the crowds were sold out, and they were very loud and boisterous. What kind of experience is it for a country like the United States to go into Iran and be around that kind of wrestling fan and feel that kind of intensity and love for the sport?
Yeah, well, I guess the best way I can put it is that when one of the reporters that was there from the United States went in there, it was like this whole thing he was amazed by it. You know, I wasn't amazed because I knew it was going to happen, but it was still amazing. And so you had that kind of a feel. When it's an hour before the wrestling starts and you're outside going, hey, am I missing something? Because the crowd's going nuts. I mean, that's what the atmosphere is. They don't need anything to create energy.
Yeah, now let's talk a little bit about your conversations and time you've spent with wrestlers and coaches and leaders from other countries. We have a challenge in regards to the Olympic program. And this may have been the first time that a lot of the international wrestling people got together to deal with this issue. Talk about the camaraderie between the wrestling people and also the determination to move forward and maintain our Olympic status.
Well, certainly it was the timing because of what happened. The timing of this World Cup was as good as it could be. It had about a week after the announcement, so the countries had had a chance. You know, your first reaction when you hear it is disbelief, anger, frustration. But given a little bit of time, now it's okay. What do we need to do to show the IOC that this sport belongs in the Olympic Games? And that's where we were getting to by the time you had the World Cup. People were now determining what kind of action could we take. So to be able to talk to the Iranians about plans to come over here potentially on May 16th for an international day of wrestling in New York, and the Russians about what their plans are, and if they're talking about wanting to have an interest to come here to do a dual meet to show the camaraderie and the unification that we've had of this. So. And a lot of the countries are really looking to the U.S. or what are you guys doing, and looking to FILA now that we've got new leadership to tell us what do we do now so that we can do the right things to influence the IOC to put this sport, to keep it in the games as a core sport.
Now, our team wrestled well, but I mean, how did this experience get them even more engaged in what's going on in the international battle for the wrestling status? Did our athletes now even have more commitment to what it's going to take to help promote the sport?
Well, I don't think this created a desire for our athletes now to do more. It was like we were getting contacts immediately after this announcement was made to what can we do. I mean, our guys are on board to say, if we ask them to help, I've got no doubt that any one of these guys would step up and do it to keep the sport in the Olympic Games. And the reality is, if you look at it, most of our national team, this doesn't affect that much. 2016, you're going to have a turnover. It's the guys that are coming up that may be younger. But if you look at it, at least half or more, this is probably not going to affect them, but it's going to affect our sport. And that's to the core of who they are. So we've got no problem with asking anybody and knowing that they're going to help.
Outstanding. Anything else from Iran that you think we should share? I mean, again, I've never been there, so does anything stand out in your mind about that trip?
Well, yeah, I think that what really stands out, and it always does, is just how much the Iranian people like Americans. I mean, it's when you go through that venue, you can't walk through. We had a hard time just walking through the area we have from downstairs to the real short place to where we sat. And it's not that you were accosted. They'd come over. They'd have their sons wanting to take pictures with Americans. Their buddies. They'd just switch the cameras off, and it was hard to get where you were going to sit because you wanted to do that. I mean, they were very friendly. They wanted to have it happen, and so if we would have walked out to the other side, you probably never got done taking pictures and watching them. Actually, we almost had to provide security for Jordan Burroughs to get from the venue to the bus to just see how important. It just reinforces how important this sport is to the Iranian culture.
Thank you very much, Mitch.